it with our politicians today. Nobody is making any sense.
Now only politicians, even we never show up this morning.
But you
don't have good jobs. How can you?
Your views, your thoughts, your perspective. This is People's Forum.
Hello and a very good evening to you out there. My name is Deborah Umba and you're listening to the People's Forum on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. Today is the 27th day in the month of August 2020. I hope that you're having a great day at the moment. Now, last week on the show, the Thursday edition of the People's Forum brought to you by the Upright for Nigeria campaign, we talked about, we talked about the reverse or inverse, of, the situation as regards corruption in Nigeria. We looked at, a situation, a country, a world where corruption did not exist. What happens? What are some of the benefits? What do citizens stand to benefit? Because we wanted people or citizens to understand what corrupt practices can actually do in a country, how it can actually make you not enjoy some of the dividends that you are supposed to enjoy as a citizen, as an individual. Everybody seems to be wanting to, leave Nigeria, and then I'm asking, who do the job of actually calling people out or calling political office holders for people who believe that the problem begins at the top? Who exactly are you leaving out to do the job of this investigation? Now, today on the show, we will be talking about the effects of corruption in the society. So now that we have seen what it means to what we stand to benefit as citizens if we do not involve ourselves in corrupt practices, and all of that, now we want to actually look at it. What are some of the impacts? And not just, talking about the effects of corruption in the society. We'd also be talking about the Freedom of Information Act. What exactly is the Freedom of Information Act? How you can access it? To what extent can a citizen actually have the rights? Or what are the rights of a citizen to accessing certain kind of information or documents, And then we have a lot of guests in the studio who will actually be talking about all of these things. We'll also talk about the processes that you can take as a citizen to investigate corruption. So if there's something happening in your area or your community, like I said last week, some of these people that we have actually been trying to call out are people that they are your family members, they're your friends, they are people that you have some form of relationship with, but it looks like a lot of people are scared to report the situation, and I gave instances, right? But then moving on to how to actually fight corruption, because that is what this program is aimed at, we will be talking about the processes that you can go through as a citizen who wants to take up this action. Remember that you can actually volunteer in this fight against corruption by sending an email or, just engage the Upright for Nigeria campaign on all the social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Engage them and let us begin this fight already. You can also be a part of this conversation by going on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it is 925 Dream FM. On Twitter, it is Dream925FM. On WhatsApp, you can also reach us. It is 0902 0020 My name is Deborah Mba, and once more, you're welcome to the Thursday edition of the People's Forum, brought to you by the Upright for Nigeria campaign. The focus for today is the effects of corruption on the society. I have Alex Ogbodo, who is a media practitioner, with me in the studio. It is great to have you. Good evening to you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Great to be here too. All
right. I also have in the studio Nebo Collins. He is the Executive Director, New Century Initiative and Coordinator General, Enugu West Youth General Assembly. It is a pleasure having you in the studio. Good evening to you.
Thank you very much, Debbie.
All right, I'll begin with Alex Ogbodo. Now, some of the questions that we'll be asking, like I said, we're going to be looking into investigative or how to investigate corrupt practices. Now, first off, given the situation so far, given the fact that the rate of corruption in Nigeria has, attracted a lot of international concerns, and in fact, Transparency International recently described or termed the corruption in Nigeria as excessive. I'd like to ask you first, how do you describe a country's level of corruption as excessive? What are your thoughts on this?
There are various ways people can describe a situation in another country.
Okay.
The former British Prime Minister described Nigeria as fantastically corrupt.
Okay.
I'm sure there are things that we don't know about that they're seeing, especially the outflow of money from this country to other countries.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things. They have information that we don't. Those of us within Nigeria don't know some things that are going on, especially in terms of the amount of resources that are carted away on a daily basis from those who ought to use those resources to either fix roads, build hospitals, build schools. Now, the issue of how you describe it is also a question of the vocabulary available to you.
Yeah.
How knowledgeable you are about the subject matter. So if it looks too much in your eye, you can say, "Ooh, that the rate of corruption in Nigeria is ginormous." Okay. You can use all sorts of words.
When you use the word excessive, you're making people believe that there's so much corruption in Nigeria and there's so much work to be done, even though it looks like the more we look, the less we see. Right? And then you said something about we not having access, or we don't know some of the things that these people know is probably the reason that they feel like they are authorized to describe Nigeria, using such kind of descriptions. What would you say is the best way to go about this situation, like having access to information?
The issue of access is, for me, sometimes is either overemphasized or understated, or at some of the times I actually think that before you actually investigate a particular case, you should know what the case is. A lot of times, in all fairness to all journalists that are investigating one thing or the other concerning corruption, a lot of them don't have the complete information. I'll just use what's happening with Magu to give you an instance. Do you know what Magu is accused of? Is there any document showing you what Magu is accused of?
That, yeah.
So if you don't know, for instance, how do you report what's going on with Magu, for instance? Because the presidential panel is holding the sitting in the villa. And then you don't know, because Magu's lawyers are asking for the documents stating his offense or alleged offenses or charges, but he's been investigated for. So now what happens to a journalist, for instance, who wants to investigate whatever it is Magu is charged or whatever offense it is they are alleging that he committed? So you don't have a complete picture. So these are the things that give birth to people being sensational, using sensation in their reporting. They start using catchy headlines. Magu in trouble, Magu in messy waters. So you start seeing very sensational headlines, because when people don't have enough information, they start resorting to either name calling, or they start using metaphors or innuendos that will just create sound effects for their news medium, not necessarily saying the complete truth.
All right, so one of the steps to fighting corruption is understanding what you're fighting.
Exactly.
All right, so as a journalist, seeing as you are a media practitioner, now for journalists who want to go further investigating some kind of situation or corrupt practice, what are the steps to take when you want to investigate a report, especially a corrupt one that has to do with corruption?
Yes, just like I said before, one, whatever it is you want to investigate, there has to be some form of documentation of what you're about to investigate. If it's a matter in court, there are also boundaries that are the reporting cases that are ongoing in court, so that you do not get into another type of trouble. Because if a matter is in court, you just have to be calm about it until, except you are covering the court cases. And in some cases too, the judge might decide not to allow media coverage of that particular court case. So in which case it affects how you cover it. Now, you first of all will have to pay a visit to whatever institution that is being investigated, or the institution housing the person who is being investigated, or the institution in charge of the investigation, whichever comes first. You need to understand, one, what they are investigating, what the charges are, and then two, in the context the charges are being filed, or whatever type of investigation. You need to understand the context of it as a journalist, because it's not everything you run to go and report. There are things you have to take your time to gather information before you go to press. But a lot of times you see people not having enough information, running to the press to actually, maybe be the first to report a story without necessarily getting enough information, in which case you start getting situations where people will be charged to court or taken to court for information they put out there. And you now see some media houses putting out a retraction or making apologies for either publishing half-truth or maybe putting out outright lies. So these are some of the things. In trying to cover stories, you need to, apart from the fact that you know how to cover stories and file them, you should also know that you need enough information, background. You need to dig deep and make sure that you're balancing it. If it involves two persons, someone is accusing someone of something, you need to hear from both sides. You have to balance it. Balance and fairness is one of the keys. So anybody who's a journalist will know that you need to be balanced, you need to be fair, and a few other things you need to do. But whatever happens, make sure if there are parties to the case, you need to hear the parties.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Alex Obodo, media practitioner. You're listening to 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM, and we're talking about the effects of corruption on the society. I have other guests with me in the studio who will be telling us about a Freedom of Information Act, how to assess it, as well as other processes when it comes to investigative journalism. I'm putting it that way, but I actually mean investigating corrupt practices. This show has been brought to you by the Upright for Nigeria campaign, and it is aimed at curbing corruption. Remember that you can actually also make reports by sending them an email, which I will later on call out before the end of the show. Stay tuned. My name is Deborah Mba.
Distinguished Senator of the Federal Republic, congratulations. This is our time. Thank you, my friend. It is our victory. We don't hammer. Our suffering has come to an end. As your personal person, they go here. John, how do you mean? It is our turn to chop the national cake. Now I have the assurance I can build my mansion. Calm down, my friend. Calm down. I am going to disappoint you. I plan to be very different. Which kind of difference? Should we go stitch up something? Well, my intention is to represent the interest of my people, so we can truly enjoy the dividends of democracy. Hey, brother, you cannot be serious. Look, my friend, things are getting better. I have made up my mind to join others who have pledged to stand upright for Nigeria. Join us. We are making progress. This message is from Upright for Nigeria campaign. Stand upright for Nigeria.
What is it with our politicians today? Nobody is making any sense.
Now only politicians, even we never show up this morning.
But you don't
have good jobs. How can you?
Your views, your thoughts, your perspective. This is People's Forum.
Welcome back to the People's Forum on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. The time is 17 minutes gone past the hour of 5 p.m. My name is Deborah Mba, and you're listening to the show which has been brought to you by the Upright for Nigeria campaign on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM, the Thursday edition of the People's Forum. We're looking at the effects of corruption on the society, and this is the first part of this topic. Next week we'll do a follow-up, but then today we've talked about, the case of corruption in Nigeria, some of the cases including MAGO, that is the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, as well as some of the cases that we will be talking about later on the show. I've had Alex Obodo with me in the studio. He is a media practitioner. I also have Nebo Collins. He is the Executive Director, New Century Initiative, and the Coordinator General, Enugu West Youth General Assembly. Now, moving on the show. Nebo Collins, I'd ask you this one. Let's talk about the Freedom of Information Act. So I'm putting myself in people's shoes. I'm not sure that a lot of people actually understand what the Freedom of Information Act is all about. When people just come on air and talk about, you have to, you have access, there's the Freedom of Information. What exactly is the Freedom of Information Act?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, actually, the Freedom of Information is one of the key principles of democracy.
Okay.
And it was first introduced in the United States, where citizens ask their leaders questions about certain issues, and they call it classified information.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that is undemocratic. Also because
it's undemocratic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when the issue is public.
Okay.
issue of public concern.
Okay.
So it's undemocratic. It's not inclusive, and it's not also representing the interest of the people. Okay. Because as we know, that democracy is government of the majority.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was what brought about the Freedom of Information Act. Then we had the same issue in Nigeria, where people cannot hold public officers accountable on the basis for the fact that we don't have a law that mandates them to release certain information to the public domain. For instance, if you want to get a list of commissioners in a state, for instance, and you want to know their age, you see that before the Freedom of Information Act, such information, you can't find them in public domain.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now, if you use the Freedom of Information Act and make place requests, because they are public servants, so the law mandates whatever authority in charge of those names and profiles to release them. So that's the hint. That's just the hint of what Freedom of Information Act represents. Okay. It was passed during the Jonathan administration. Okay. Let me before I go deep into it, let me also use an emphasis that can also analyze so people understand. Like Alex Obodo said during his analysis, he said that nobody knows what Magu did, his offense and all that. Now, if there is no freedom of information, Magu can be prosecuted without people, having a first-hand information of what is his crime. So, but with Freedom of Information Act, his lawyers or the institution he represents can place a demand to know exactly why is this man being prosecuted. You understand? So now going further, it was passed after series of civil society intervention in May 28, 2011 during Jonathan administration. And one of the core objectives of the Freedom of Information Act is to make public records and information more freely available. Then the second one is to provide public access to public records and information. 3 is to protect public records and information to the extent that it consists with the public interest. That's what I talk about, inclusive democracy. Yeah, public interest and protection of personal privacy. So now public interest is different from personal privacy. There are some information that if it's about personal information of an individual, it can be protected because it doesn't have anything to do with the public. Like in the medical ethics, if somebody is having a particular kind of disease or infirmity and the doctor is not permitted to share the medical records in the public, without the person's consent, because it's personal to the person, and the medical issue is not of public concern. That's why when our president traveled to UK, his medical records couldn't be made available because it's something that is particular to him as a person, not the office of the presidency.
Okay.
You understand? So same thing went further to also talk about to protect 7 public officers. Freedom of information is to protect 7 public officers, people like Magu, as he mentioned.
Okay.
People wants to know, why is Magu being prosecuted? Yeah, he's a public servant. He works with EFCC, right? Yeah, so people want to also know if this man is really guilty. If at the end of the day he's not found guilty, people can also take to the street and defend him, that this man, they should leave him alone. You understand? So it also serves as a medium, not to just criticize or vindicate public servants. It also serves as a medium to protect them. You understand? And the 5th one is to establish procedures for the achievement of these processes and other related matters. Now, the procedures of ensuring maximum, inclusive governance. There's what we call due process in government. And for instance, if government award a contract and you want to know the due process, if there is legislative, if there was an advert, if was there a procurement process that led to estimation of the quotation that has been sent, how much was given at the first batch, second batch of the money of the contract, who is in charge, who is the contractor, what is the name, what's the phone number, what's the address. Some of these things are the things that we don't normally have access to as citizens before 2011. So, but after 2011, it's still difficult to still get this information because at the federal level, it has been implemented. And according to the Act itself, when certain request is being placed to any MDA, Ministry, Department, Agency of the government, or any parastatal, you are given the mandate of 7 days to respond to that. So if the information requested is not available, you can also request for elongation.
Okay.
You understand? But if you come to the states doesn't, not all the states recognize it, because even personally, I've made certain demands to get certain information.
Is there a reason for that?
There was no concrete reason, because a court in Ondo State, I think last year or last 2 years, validates that is a national law enacted by the it's an act of the parliament, and they have representatives from all the states in Nigeria who were part of the lawmaking. You understand? So that whatever law they make there is binding, is supreme. You understand? Exceed every other by law, just like constitution and state bylaws. So the constitution, when the state bylaw is not inconsistent, or is not consistent with the constitution, the constitution supersedes. So the same thing with the FOI Act. If a state decide to bar people from information, the FOI Act, being a national law, supersedes whatever bylaw made at the state level.
Okay.
You understand? So unless the law being made is not existing or is not gazetted in the National Assembly as a state law.
Seeing as we're encouraging citizens, individuals, to actually go into investigations, what is the reason that some of the states are not implementing the FOI Act first? And how can individuals actually assess the FOI Act? What are some of the steps to take?
Okay, the thing is that for selfish and personal reasons, some leaders may have some skeleton in their cupboards, because the FOI Act is part of the principle of democracy.
So should this become a part of our fight?
Yeah, it should be part of the fight, of course.
Okay.
It doesn't come easy.
All right.
Yeah, so it's part of the principle of democracy, which according to Abraham Lincoln defines democracy as government of the people, for the people, and by the people. You understand? So the same thing is what FOI Act represents. It's about people having access to information in a democratic system. You cannot be leading people in a democratic system and bar them or stop them or deny them the access to information. You understand? So now the state level, because of the level of ignorance of people who may not have known the content, because one is knowing the law, two is understanding the content of the law, so that you can begin to use the content to even defend yourself. You understand? So if you don't understand, you say that there is FYI, you will not copy. There is a version that said that the ministry or whatever agency must respond within 7 working days. You understand? So these are some of the issues we have at the state level. Some people at the state level are not aware of it. There's no more sensitization. And to be sincere with you, some people who are benefiting from holding information should not be expected to sensitize people about what FYI is all about.
All right. So what are the steps to take when it comes to assessing the FOI, assessing information rather?
What we should do, the first step is for you to identify an issue you want to have access to. Let it not be personal information of an individual.
Okay.
For instance, you want an information from the police. Let it not be about the commissioner of police as an individual. Let it be issue of public concern, so that they will address it as a public case and not you writing FOI to address to individual. That's the first step. If you identify the issue, then you write it. You also have to articulate what you want, specify on the information you want from the make it very simple and concise, be specific.
Okay.
Then you now add up the parts of the law that mandate them to respond to you officially, and also respond to you within 7 days, so that they also be in line, because sometimes some civil servants or public servants don't even know the content of the law themselves. So you have to educate them in your letter, so that they also operate. If there is need for them to also check that particular act, they can also visit it to validate whatever information you must have given on your letter.
All right, thank you so much, Nebo Obina Collins, the Executive Director, New Century Initiative, and the Coordinator General, Enugu West Youth General Assembly. Also, Alex Ogodo with me still in the studio. Now I'll be speaking with Ken Ofoma, the Secretary, National Union of Journalists, Southeast Zone. Good evening to you, Ken Ofoma.
Yeah, good evening.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
All right. Now, speaking on the issue of the effects of corruption so far, seeing as you are, a journalist as well, what would you say has been the impact of corruption on the society, especially in Nigeria?
Well, the impact of corruption is indeed unquantifiable.
Okay.
The underdevelopment we have in Nigeria today, the rate of poverty, the rate of decay in the infrastructure, education, road, hospital, health, and other sectors are all traceable to corruption, the level of corruption in the country.
Okay.
And so it's indeed very, very deep, very wide.
Okay.
No society can develop with the rate of corruption that you have in Nigeria. Nigeria cannot develop until we do away with that corruption. And the corruption comes in different dimensions.
All right.
Not just stealing of money, but also in terms of lopsided appointments, in terms of recruitment, appointing people who are not qualified for positions into very sensitive positions, while people who are qualified don't have the opportunity.
Okay.
So these are all various dimensions. Playing up ethnicity, playing up religious sentiments. These are all, lopsidedness in appointments and recruitment. These are all part of corruption too, because all these help to breed mediocrity. And the nation will continue to have our second or even third level managing the affairs of the country, whereas people who are qualified don't have the opportunity to be certain positions.
All right. So when it comes to these kind of situations, what would you suggest are some of the best ways to actually take up a corruption fight? Are you there? Yeah.
First and foremost is for the government to have the political will to fight corruption. The political will. We must develop the political will, our leaders, to fight corruption. And then we must put in place the mechanism to prevent corruption from happening. We need to change. Yes, we have had anti-corruption agencies like EFCC, ICPC, but you see that they have no effect because of, one, the structure, two, the mode of appointment of personnel in those agencies. They see themselves as the agents of government, an instrument of government. The government in power that appoints them can use to hunt their political opponents. That has been the perception. And in terms of the method, the mechanism with which they fight the corruption, we need to change it because they appear to only, be embarking on, youth recovery. Youth recovery is different from fighting corruption.
Okay.
Fighting corruption means that you have to bring measures that will prevent the committing of the act and not running after the culprit after they have committed the act. What measures in terms of government procurement procedures, in terms of technology, using technology to track, in terms of ensuring financial regulations in government business. And of course, in terms of the law, the legislation, why should a corruption case last 11 years, 7 years? Why? So we need to also tinker the legislation to plug the loopholes and empower the judges. If possible, you may also have to create special courts for corruption, so to quicken the pace. So these are some of the measures we need to put in place to fight corruption.
So coming to journalists and individuals who want to take up the fight against corruption, what are the steps to take when it comes to fighting against corruption? What are some of the very practical steps to take when it comes to fighting against corruption?
By the Constitution, by the very nature of the responsibility of the media, ours is to fight, ours is to expose, ours is to hold government accountable. And that is why, if you look at Chapter 2 of 1999 Constitution as amended, it defines what it calls fundamental principles, fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. That is what government should exist for, the objective of government. Government is to provide security. Government is to provide infrastructure. Government is to provide electricity. Government is to provide water. And so on and so forth. Those are the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. In Chapter 2. Then in Section 22, the Constitution gave the media the sole responsibility to hold government accountable to the people, because these fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, they are not justiciable. The government should provide this, provide education, provide. If they don't provide it, you don't take them to court. But the Constitution gives the media the responsibility to hold government to account. And so every journalist, every media institution should know that, and they do know that it is their primary responsibility to hold government to account. And the way to do it is access to information, access to what is happening within the government. And that is why the media people spearheaded the education or lobbying for Freedom of Information, and then we finally have Freedom of Information Act, which now helps to open access to government activities. If you want to get information from any government ministry, agencies, or department, as a journalist or even as an ordinary citizen, you apply, and they are bound to give you the information within 30 days.
Within 30 days?
Yes.
Okay.
If they don't, you take them to court. Court will force them to give you the information. Except, no right is absolute. Except information relating to defense, foreign affairs, state and our government, national security. They will not oblige you because of the sensitivity of such information.
All right.
But as far as it is other business and transactions, they are bound to provide it.
All right.
This will help to check how government is functioning, how accountable, and how to some extent it will help to reduce corruption. Because when people know that whatever they do with the government money, that they will be held to an account, they will be more circumspect, they will be more careful.
All right. Thank you so much.
With the strengthening of the anti-corruption agency.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Ken Ofoma, the Secretary, National Union of Journalists, Southeast. It was great having you.
Acting Vice President.
Acting Vice President, yes, please. The National Union of Journalists, Southeast Zone. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Still on the People's Forum on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM, we're talking about the effects of corruption on the society. The last comment made by Ken Ofoma actually brings me to the question. Is there such thing as classified information when it comes to Freedom of Information Act? We'll get to that shortly. Please go ahead and let us in on your thoughts. On Facebook, it is 925 Dream FM. On Twitter, it is Dream 925 FM. On WhatsApp, it is 0902 0020 925. Ovunna Declan from Eibiricha Like, Kwineboy State says, good evening. I think the effect of corruption on the society is constant poverty without solution, and the reason is that our leaders are fighting corruption under injustice. Meanwhile, I am of the opinion that the agencies instituted to fight corruption should be strengthened by establishing special courts, and they should be an independent body that would avoid sentiments. Thank you for always being there. Thank you so much for your thoughts. Ken Ofoma actually said something about this as well. Julius Ugochukwu says there are many effects of corruption, but mostly dangerous in the society. It brings disorder and sets the society backwards in every economic affair. Okay, thank you. YouTube page from Kebbi State. All right, thank you so much. Omagan Namani says, I'm watching live from Amagunze in Nkano East Local Government Area of Enugu State. Good evening, Deborah and other analysts in the studio. This ugly phenomenon called corruption has eaten deep into the fabrics of our society from the high echelons down. The effect of this trend has created a lot of difficulties and hardship in our country. Some politicians, instead of using the available resources to better the loss of the citizenry, have resorted to diverting them for their selfish needs. Thank you so much, Omaga Namani, for that one, as well as Shika Highstar watching from Fege Onisha. Remember, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Dream TV on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook at the moment. Enugu. Yeah, Dream TV Enugu. You can also watch us live on Facebook. We're currently live there. My name is Deborah, but keep your comments and your calls coming through. It is 0902 0020 925 or 0809 8888 925. On WhatsApp, it is 0902 0020 925. I have one comment on WhatsApp. This person, the same Francis Namani already took this. Okay, it's a different comment. Good evening, Deborah and my seasoned analyst in the studio. Corruption is a very serious pandemic that has done serious damages in the sphere of our society, ranging from examination of practices, misappropriation, diversion of public funds, looting of government properties, and the likes. To mitigate this ugly phenomenon, all hands should be on deck, while the designated agencies should step up their game without any fear of favor. Also, Francis Namani from Amagunze. Thank you so much. Keep them coming through 0902 002925 or 0098888 Hello, good evening to you.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. Good evening. What is the name of where you're calling us from? Odaze.
I'm calling you from Ila.
All right, please go ahead.
Those of us who use this handphone should change because we don't have access to this Android media. Not due to our fault. We don't have access because we don't have generating power to power these sophisticated instruments. They haven't said that investigative journalism should be the key word for all journalists.
Okay.
Journalism and the media is the fourth aspect of the rain. The fourth aspect of the rain. What are we talking about? The media is there to circulate not just government, but the entire society. The entire society. Sensational journalism is just made for you to procure some resources for your own private media station or medium. The journalist has the same job as these people that do humanitarian work. Yes, before you become a journalist, you know the danger that goes with it, and you should be able to face that danger. It's not easy to criticize or recommend in a kind of democracy. So what do? You take the bull by the horn. Don't go get paid by politicians and you begin to talk from both sides of your mouth. There is no way you see two newspapers or two radio stations that report the same accurately. Each and every one of them have a different view. That must stop. All those running journalism must do that. So, you have a regulation. Follow that regulation. You have no cause to condemn or leave us the truth. You use Magu's case. You kept talking about it. And until then, no one knows exactly what Magu did or what he did not do. Every small radio station is talking of Magu. Every small news about Magu. But we don't know what did he do or what did he not do. These are very important. Once upon a time in this country, we had very brave media men and women. I remember there are food, yeah? I remember a lot of them. Yeah? Ndoka, yeah? And a few of them. There was very military review. And there were draconian laws at that time. Now we don't even have them anymore. And the media cannot give us whether the media is down. Speculation. We are done with speculation. Unlike this COVID-19, the media has not come up to tell us exactly what is going on all over the country. But they are pleased to tell us that Afghanistan insulted a journalist. They are pleased to tell us that 100 billion got lost. They are pleased to tell us how many Qatar people died. Did you go there to investigate?
Okay.
And that is my question. God bless you.
All right, thank you so much. But you cannot leave the job to the journalists alone. Everyone should actually be a part of this fight. That is what I always say. It is everyone's concern. It is everyone's business. So everyone should be a part of this fight. Remember that this show has been brought to you by the Upright for Nigeria campaign. It is aimed at curbing corruption. It is aimed at ensuring that you understand what corrupt practices are, how to go about it, how to report corrupt practices, how to not get involved in corrupt practices. Go ahead on Facebook. It is 95 Dream FM. We're live on Facebook. On Twitter, it is Dream 95 FM. On WhatsApp, it is 0902 002925. Amechi Ezekiel says corruption in Nigeria is systemic and it spreads like wildfire. It has destroyed the fabrics of the country and I don't think it will ever come to an end. It gets worse with every new administration, and those who claim to fight it are also also corrupt. So let's live with it. All right, keep your calls coming through 0902 002095 or 009 88 Hello, good evening. Please keep your contribution short. Hello, good evening. What is your name and where are you calling us from, please?
My name is Osita. I'm calling from Uloni Ovoko in the South Local Government area.
Osita, please go ahead.
I greet the guests there in the studio. Then, in my own opinion, I encourage Nigerians not to give up hope, because as a historian, I will tell you that all these things, all these corruptive practices that are happening in Nigeria today have happened in all those Western countries of the world, like France. France has experienced all those corrupt practices, and that's why they agitated during the 1789 French Revolution, when they changed their government. So all these things happening in Nigeria have happened in other Western countries of the world today. So we should not give up hope. And secondly, many countries they censor what is happening in their countries, unlike ours, which we expose ours to the international community. And that is why the international community regard us as a corrupt nation.
Okay.
Because they censor their own. That is my own contribution.
All right, thank you so much. Keep your calls coming through 0902 002095 or 009 88 I have been speaking with Alex Ogudo, a media practitioner, as well as Nabal Collins, who is the Executive Director, New Century Initiative. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. What is your name and where are you calling us from, please?
My name is Rama Tibuta. I'm calling from Ibadan.
All right, please go ahead.
My opinion is that the effect of corruption in the society is that it brings insecurity in the society.
Okay. All right.
I encourage Nigerians to fight corruption.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that encouragement. 0902 002095 or 009 88 We're looking at the effect of corruption in the society, how you can actually fight the steps to take when it comes to assessing information, and how you can actually fight against corrupt practices within your community, within your area, within your organization. The baby steps actually matter. 0902 002095 or 009 88 Remember that you can be a part of this fight by sending an email to info@ccsimpact.org. If you want to volunteer in the fight against corruption, or you want to make a report, please go ahead. It is info@ccsimpact.org. There's an app where you can also report anonymously. It is the Upright for Nigeria app. Please go ahead and download it, or you can engage them on the social media platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. It is Upright for Nigeria on all of these platforms. Now I was going to ask Nabal Collins, is there such a thing as classified information when it comes to trying to get access to certain kinds of information? Something can a format termed sensitive.
When you talk about there's classified information, like if you want to get information that concerns or threatens the national security. You understand? Or information that is that will sell out certain national image to foreigners or to enemies is classified as security information.
So what's the best thing to do in this kind of
there is limit to access to certain information. Now, I know that you're in democracy, and you can ask questions about governance, you can ask questions about social welfare, you can ask questions about social infrastructure, you can ask questions about recruitment, anything that involves, people, and welfare, socio-economic activity, just like they mentioned, and the lawyer that the NUJ person said that the chapter 2 of the Constitution, the chapter 2 of the Constitution is the macrocosm. It's the coverage of the entire activities government does under social intervention programs. You understand? So you can ask your question, but when you talk about certain military, what is the Nigerian sophisticated military hardware? Then you're becoming too sensitive, because it's something that talks about the security of the nation, which if you leak certain information, an enemy can tap into that information and invade the nation.
All right, thank you so much, Neighbor Collins. Now, before we call it a wrap, Alex Ogbodo, what are your thoughts on the calls made so far, and what would you suggest is the way forward for individuals as well as the government when it comes to fighting corruption?
Well, I think on the part of journalists, the best way forward is one, knowledge and more knowledge. You just like he was talking about what is classified information. So you cannot say that the military refused to tell you how many rifles in their arsenal. You can't expect them to say that to you. You are the middle of war. Or
who supplies insurgents with arms and ammunition.
Because some of this information, there are things you say. You are giving information to people you want to eradicate. So it's just like leaving the key to your gate at the gate. So knowledge and more knowledge. You first of all, you should know what it is you can get information on, and then the things you cannot for national security reasons, or for reasons that are very, very, very cogent. There are reasons why you shouldn't get certain information. Either the information is not there or is not available at that moment. You should know that whatever information you seek, there has to be a reason why you want that information. Because these are questions you answer in journalism. Why? For whom? Where are you using it? These are questions you have to answer. And if you can't answer these questions, then you should go back and check again whether you really need the information. All
right. Thank you so much, Alex Ogbodo, a media practitioner. Now, finally to you, Neighbor Collins, what are your final thoughts, quickly?
Okay, what I think is that Nigerians find it difficult to spend time reading and understanding. So, I think Nigerians should advocate that leadership, the local government and the state government, should adopt this FOI Act. Now, demand for it and let them domesticate it. You understand? Let them domesticate it let them not even ratify, they just domesticate it at the state level. You understand? Then another one is that there is chapter 2 of the Constitution which talks about social and economic welfare of the people. Now, by that part of the law, you cannot even hold leaders accountable for defaulting that part of the law. Then that's what the NUJ person said. So Nigerians should also tackle this issue that leaders can be sued to court. A governor, a senator, a local government chairman can be sued to court if he or she fails to follow the chapter 2 of the Constitution.
And if it is found that he failed to follow.
To provide the social welfare and economic welfare of the people.
All right, thank you so much, Neighbor Collins. It was great having you on the show. The Executive Director, New Century Initiative, and Coordinator General, Enugu West Youth General Assembly, as well as Alex Ogbodo. It was also a pleasure having you on the show. This has been the Thursday edition of the People's Forum. Remember to join us next week, Thursday, for a second part of the effects of corruption on our society. Please go ahead and share your thoughts. Engage them on engage the Upright for Nigeria campaign on all the social media platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. You can also send an email to make reports or to volunteer. It is info@ccsimpact.org. My name is Deborah Mbawante. Big thanks to my producer, Oke Odogu, and everyone who was a part of the show today. Coming up at exactly 6 o'clock is Sportian with Frankie and Godwin here on 92.5 in Enugu's Dream FM. Have a lovely evening.